Hello, everyone. I'm Dominique Hamler. I'm Executive Director of Los Angeles Outpatient Center, and I'm here today, you guys, with the GOAT herself, our very own Adrina Wilson. She's our clinical director, and you guys, guess what? She is putting in the literal work, okay? And I have her here today, and she's going to help you guys on this journey to mental health. That's what we want, right? We want to achieve this mental health wellness, excellence in mental health. So without further ado, you guys, I am going to let Adrina introduce herself. Take it away, Adrina.
So I'm Adrina Wilson. Thank you, Dominique, for inviting me today.
Oh, yeah.
I am a licensed marriage and family therapist. I've been practicing in California for the last 8 years now. And prior to my work here, I was doing more county work, but the work we do here at LAOP is so important. So I'm excited to share that with you and get into more details.
Yes, and we're so grateful to have you, Adrina.
I'm so ready.
Me too, guys. This is going to be great. Okay, let's talk about Los Angeles Outpatient Center as a workplace, because we're employees. We work here, right? What are some techniques you use as a clinical director to make sure you foster an inviting and collaborative setting in this workplace? And what can you tell us about Los Angeles Outpatient Center that maybe, is set apart from other places that you work in the past? Because like I said, we all have a past, right? Oh my goodness. So
don't we though?
Let's talk about it.
So number one, and this is really important, so please listen up. It is not top down. This is really important.
Okay.
It is not from the top down. I'm not the be all end all.
Right.
The first rule of being the therapist is I'm not the expert of the client, and I am not the expert of the therapist.
Okay.
We lead as a group. We collaborate. We meet together. I get there in the dirt with my therapist. I won't ask my therapist to do or run any group or see any client that I wouldn't myself see. I would go in there and I'd run the group. I can go in there and I can lead the individual. The reality is we're a team. And in order for this kind of work to be successful, we have to know that we're in it together. So I do not lead from the top down.
Right.
I lead from the bottom up, and I lead with my team. That's incredibly important. That's definitely step one. The other really important thing is, being a manager and working in the therapeutic space is using the expertise of the experts on my team, you being one of them.
There you go.
One thing we really want to focus on is working with the strengths of the therapist and the strengths of our team. So it's really important that we are aware of what that is for us. So spending time together, really getting to know each other so that we can enlist that when we have an issue and I'm like, I don't know how to solve that, but I know Dominique does because she's told me before. And then also being aware of the things I know we need to work on. So knowing that sometimes one therapist might not want to run groups as often, but maybe the other therapist is like, hello, my jam. That's my jam. I like doing that. So strengths, really focusing on the strength-based approach that I use with my clients, I use with my team as well. And those are some really important things about.
Adrina, I think that's fantastic. I really like what you talked about. You've eliminated the power distance, right? You've eliminated the dynamic where you're not approachable, right? Because you've already said you're in the trenches with your employees.
That's exactly it.
You're at the same level as far as the work that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what sets us apart, because that's not too common, I'm gonna be honest, in the workplace where you can meet a director or a manager that will meet you where you are.
Right.
Understanding your strengths is what I said. So that means you're paying attention.
Exactly.
That means you're getting to know your employees and understanding where they are. I think that is really a great opportunity, and that's definitely going to trickle down to the clients, right?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
There you have it, people.
Yeah. Thank you. And one of the therapists said recently to one of the new therapists, and she was like, well, what you see in Adrina right now is what you get. So what you see is what you get. I don't have hidden agendas as a supervisor. I really, we just want to really be there and support them, just like you do for me. The really want it to be more of a strength-based, supportive environment, and it does set us apart from other clinics.
Definitely.
Other clinics, I think that it is a little bit more structured, and it's the top down, and it feels very much like, oh gosh, I did something wrong, I know I'm going to be in trouble for it. And this is not a punitive environment. We just don't, here at LAOP, focus on that.
That's exactly right. We have each other's back.
That's exactly it.
Tested and tried, you guys. Thank you very much for that.
Absolutely.
So let's move on. Okay, question number 2. I'm getting excited. Sorry, slow down. Okay, question number 2, work-life balance. This is a heavy hitter, right? This is, I know you guys wanted to talk about this, so we're going to dive in. Okay, so Adrina, in your experience, can you call out a time when you struggled to maintain that work-life balance? Absolutely. And I'm certain because we've all been there. That resonated. Sorry you guys saw that reflect, but that resonated. So you struggle with maintaining the work-life balance, and what do you do to change this? What do you do to change this? Well, I'm just going to say one thing that we've done to change it is we've started a community support group at Los Angeles Outpatient Center.
We have.
Our community support group really talks about different topics, and one thing is work-life balance has come up in that support
Absolutely.
group.
It's come up multiple times.
Right. So now I just want to turn to you as an expert as far as maintenance and the changes that we have to do, right,
Absolutely.
in order to achieve this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Work-life balance is something we all struggle with at one point or the other. I mean, we're really societally taught that we are supposed to go into the workforce. We're supposed to hit it hard, and you're not a good employee unless you're there all the time and you're on it. We are not there all the time. We are not on it all the time. The biggest thing for work-life balance is a couple things. One of them, and it's a hot word right now, self-care.
Come on.
Isn't that interesting?
That
You're
part.
using something, a skill that is, we're using self-care to support ourselves. It's counterproductive when we're feeling like, oh God, I'm stressed out. I have to get this work thing done. You're not thinking, I'm going to go get my nails done today, or I'm going to go like treat myself good.
Right.
You need to. And it doesn't have to be just getting your nails done. It can be taking deep breaths throughout the workday. You know, I have little rituals throughout the workday myself, and sometimes I'll just sit in my office and I'll zone out. That's my self-care. I'm not thinking, I'm not doing, I'm not in action. I am being present with myself, and I'm allowing myself to have that space in our busy day.
Love it.
Work-life balance can really create burnout, and we see that in the field a lot in our clients. A lot of clients are coming here on work breaks. The other one is communication. Communication. So talking to my supervisor, Dominique, talking to my therapist, getting to know each other so we know what burnout looks like in each other. So giving our friends and giving our family cues of like, this is what I look like when I'm leading towards that. And maybe I need a little extra support. And that little extra support can be like, hey, Adrina, remember that zone out moment? Have you had that today? No, Dominique, I have not. I need that moment. I need that moment today. We really need to take those moments for ourselves, because if we don't, the burnout comes.
That's right. And I can tell you, I've been crispy before.
Fried, crispy. Been here, done that. Listen, we live in LA. My commute a day is 2 hours combined. So, you know, we really have to focus and practice being intentional with all of the moments we have in our day, and that it not always be productive. Sometimes it's listening to my favorite thriller book, because I love thrillers. Sometimes it's listening to my favorite podcasts, and other times it's calling my family on the way home, and really just identifying what it is that we have in our supports and our network to help us escape, and not even escape, get a break.
There you go.
That's important. Get a break from work.
Okay, you guys, you deserve that break, okay? Self-love, you are worthy, okay? You heard it from the expert. And I will attest right now, family, I watch Adrina take care of herself day in and day out. It's actually admirable. So I appreciate you for doing that, because it's contagious. It makes me, when I see her performing her rituals, I'm like, okay, let me go do something for myself. So I'm not burnt to a crisp, okay?
And not to be specific or anything, but you know, one thing that Dominique does not do is sometimes not have lunch.
Oh,
she'll come to me at 2 o'clock and
put
she'll
on blast.
be like,
oh, okay.
She'll be like, I haven't eaten today. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, we're walking into the office and we're going to eat together. I'll have my snack, my afternoon snack, and you're going to have your meal. We need food. We need water. But we all do it. We all have our moments. I'm always in action to do mode. That checklist, you know, it's always got to get done by the end of the day. And it does, but with some self-care, right, Dominique?
It is. And
we teach each other.
Thank you for redirecting my bad habits. See, and that's what it takes too, right? Identifying that and working together. So again, I appreciate that, because you forget sometimes. You're just in the day-to-day, your checklist, your to-do list. It's cumbersome, right?
Absolutely.
So take care of yourself. Eat lunch. What time is it? Eat lunch, you guys. So let's go. Okay. Oh my goodness. This one is a hot topic as well. And you guys wanted to learn more about this. So we're bringing it right now, you guys. Imposter syndrome. Sound familiar? Yep, it does. So let's go with this statistic, you guys. According to Psychology Today, 70%, 70, yeah, I said it, 70% of working professionals have suffered from imposter syndrome. Those numbers are astronomical, just hearing that, right? So let me just give you a little snippet about imposter syndrome, and then I'm going to turn it over to Adrina. Imposter syndrome is literally the belief that you as an individual are undeserving of a certain achievement and the high esteem in which you are in fact generally held. When you achieve, when you produce, when you perform, you're held in high esteem. But for some reason, you don't feel worthy, right? You don't feel like you deserve it. So I would like for you, Adrina, to maybe share something personal that you've been able to relate to with the imposter syndrome, and just maybe how you've overcome the difficulties that come along with it.
Absolutely. I mean, we hear this all the time in the therapeutic space, both for the working professionals and for our clients. It's really difficult. So, you know, I've definitely struggled with imposter syndrome. Being on my second career, going in to be a therapist, I was so nervous. I remember, and I will never forget my first client, sitting in the room with my first client and thinking, oh, heck, what did I do? I don't think I know what to do. I don't know where to go from here. And I was paralyzed. I probably sat there not talking for 5 minutes, and the client's just like, hello, are you there, Adrina? And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to pull it together. So you know what I did? I got through that session. I made it through that session successfully. And I was able to do my second session successfully. But I had to take this to my therapist. I had to. All of us have therapists. Therapists have therapists too. It's really a thing. And I recommend it. And if your therapist isn't in therapy, concerned. But I took this to my therapist and I said, you know, I'm really struggling. I don't know what's going on and why I think that I'm just not good enough yet. And you know what she said? She said, Adrina, what are your core beliefs about yourself? What are your beliefs that are leading you to believe that? We talk about that all the time in therapy. Core beliefs is what drives both negative and positive behaviors. And so I really had to get down to it. What is it that I believe I'm not good enough for? And we really sourced it to some old things in my life, things that weren't even from that moment, things that were pulled from my past where I was like, you know, I really thought that I wasn't smart, that I wasn't good enough. And I was able to work through some of that with my therapist. And it's ongoing. Imposter syndrome comes in and out throughout my career. And I would say, you know, that was the very early of my career, but I've experienced imposter syndrome, even here at LAOP. Humans are complex.
That's right.
I always go back to what my teachers and professors have taught me. And the reality is, like I said in the beginning, I'm not the expert of all lives. So if I lead humbly and I lead knowing that I'm not the expert of my client's life or my staff's life, I can then meet them where they're at, and it's going to be a level ground. I'm not higher than. And it's really hard to come from that place when you're fresh out of training or when you're, you know, really in the professional workspace. You're expected to be the best or you're expected to do this. But again, it comes back to that communication of what's going on. Is there something in my personal space or my work life that is leading me to feel this way? But take it to your therapist, y'all. It really makes a difference. It's made my career so much more manageable. At the end of the day.
I can only imagine a clinician such as yourself, a therapist, you're taking on the problems, if you will, of your clientele. So it's a heavy weight, right? Dealing with the issues and concerns and the stressors of people that you care about, that you're taking care of. You develop this relationship with them. So yeah, that makes perfect sense. So if therapists need therapists, guys, how much more, right? Us lay people. But what I want to also too is reemphasize what you said about your transparency, you know, and being vulnerable. I think that's a huge piece of it, right?
Vulnerability.
That vulnerability, and then the humility that comes right after, because you have to be humble to be able to open up to your therapist about how you really feel.
Exactly. Right? And you touched on a very important thing. Vulnerability is key sometimes. It's admitting that I'm not perfect.
Right.
It's admitting or seeing my faults for being beautiful because it's a part of who I am. It's made me who I am. But being vulnerable is so important. And that's probably one of the most difficult parts for people to really understand is that vulnerability is not, it does not equate weakness. Vulnerability is the opposite. Vulnerability and being open and transparent is the key. It's the key, especially when it comes to imposter syndrome.
Especially. And the other thing I hear in your words, Adrina, is acceptance.
Yes,
Right?
absolutely.
Because you talked about the core beliefs. You guys, what is in your core? What do you believe about yourself? What is the narrative, right, in your headspace? What are you telling yourself, right? I know for me, Adrina, I have to constantly combat negative intrusive thoughts.
Right.
And I feel like that's tied into the imposter syndrome.
It's absolutely tied in. Absolutely. I mean, those intrusive thoughts happen to all of us. All of us have those moments of insecurity, and, you know, therapy gives you the skills to talk back at that and to not constantly be fighting with yourself, because at the end of the day, it's hard. We are our own worst enemies sometimes. And we have to flip that and find where our strengths and our loves are about ourselves and what we're allowing ourselves actually to experience in our day-to-days.
Right, 100%. Okay, you guys heard it. Self-care, self-love, acceptance, vulnerability, transparency. Okay, take notes.
Please do.
We're moving on. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about practicing assertiveness. Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, Adrina has no problem with practicing assertiveness.
She's calling me out.
I'm calling her out. We don't have to worry about that, guys. Check. So you're gonna want to hear what she has to say about this, okay? All right. So now, what I'm gonna ask you is, in practicing assertiveness, and notice I didn't say aggression, right? I said assertiveness because we get those confused, right? They both start with A, but they're totally different.
It's so true.
So how can practicing assertiveness improve mental health and your overall well-being? And the second part of this question is, what are different ways that I can uphold, here's this word, guys, boundaries in the workplace or even in my personal life? Because it's not, I can't just be boundaried in my personal life and not my work life or vice versa, right?
Absolutely.
So just tell me what you think about practicing this assertiveness and as it relates to our mental health.
Absolutely. You know, we're revisiting the other question about core beliefs, you know, this really comes down to what is it my goal is? What is my goal in the workplace? What is my, what keeps me here? What's my passion? At the end of the day, that's where my assertiveness comes from. I'm passionate and I'm committed and I'm dedicated. And to be assertive means to be clear and to be open and to be communicative, not holding things back. That's so difficult, especially when approaching a manager, right? We really struggle with that as a society. What do I talk to my manager about? Couldn't tell you how many clients I've had in the room who are really struggling with the dynamics and the power play that can happen in the workplace.
That's right.
Assertiveness can look aggressive if done wrong.
Right.
Assertiveness done right is not aggressive. It's straightforward. It's clear, concise, and you're able to understand at the end what that person needs without any judgment or negative languages around it. It's knowing your wants and needs, and that's another really difficult one, right? Like, what is it I want or need out of a certain situation? We work with humans, and a lot of the things that we deal with in our clinic is that emotions get hot. They get high. Clients struggle. We struggle. There's always things going on. But this is where I throw in the boundaries, right? Within reason. So I tell my therapist all the time, and I think we've said this before together, is we are not in our clients' shoes. We need to kind of like knock some of the things that get thrown at us after therapy sessions, because it's not ours to carry.
There you go.
That's a boundary. A client's struggle and a client's trauma is not ours to carry. So setting a boundary, even if it's emotionally and internally, of I am allowed to let this go and allow my client to take this until I see the client next and not carrying that with me. And again, other boundaries assertiveness, that's where that comes in, being clear and concise. What are your wants and what are your needs? If we keep circling back to what do I want and what do I need, I'm probably be able to converse it without the emotions involved. And that's a really big part of that in the workplace.
100%.
Absolutely.
Okay, you guys, that is your assignment. What do you want and what do you need? Because without that foundation, right, you won't be able to communicate, right? If you're not really understanding about yourself. So here we go with that self again, right? Taking a deeper dive into self. Okay, that's your homework, fam. I want to see your assignments. Okay, let's move on. So now let's just we've talked about imposter syndrome. We've talked about asserting boundaries. Let's look at just career growth, right?
Absolutely.
Career, because you talked about second career. I've had a journey as well. Let's talk about progressing in our careers, and maybe we can share any defining moments or any tips that you have, Adrina, with your career journey, and how do you advance yourself, right? How do you pick up from where you are, wherever you are, and advance yourself and go to that next level? And what does that look like? I guess it's more like a repositioning yourself, right? Once you find out, right? Because let's talk about what you want and what you need. This can apply to your career growth as well, your career path as well. What do you want for yourself in your career? What do you want? How do you want to grow? So we're going to hear just some examples of what that looks like. Yeah.
There's a stat out there. I'll have to find the details on that.
Okay.
And it basically is studying that at any given point in our life, that some of us will change our careers up to 6 times in our lifetime. 6 times. So I'm actually on my second career, like you were saying. I grew up in Las Vegas. I grew up around entertainment. It just was what I knew. I did lighting design, live theater, live concert events. Special effects were my thing, so pyro, things like that. I know it's weird, probably unexpected. But you know what I learned? I learned so much about myself in the transition of that career path into this career path. When I was in entertainment, I cried daily, if not daily, multiple times a day. And I would go to bed and I have to ask myself, am I happy? Like, am I really doing what I feel like my heart needs me to do with life? And let me tell you, that struggle was for years. And I went back and forth, and finally that B word, burnout, happened. And I stopped showing up to gigs, or I'd show up late. I would have a hard time, getting my work done and having the energy to do it. And finally one day I was like, okay, enough is enough. And in my personal journey, I was like, what is it that I want to do in life? What is it that my life has led me to that will be fulfilling and that interests me and that will want me to get up every day and go to work and that, won't have me crying every day. I mean, crying's normal, but every day was a little excessive. And I realized, I'm meant to be in the helping profession. And although entertainment truly believe is a helping profession, I needed it to be direct care. I needed to be with clients and supporting them. And so that's when I went back to grad school. And those transitions are really, really rough for people. And let me tell you, that was not an easy transition. I am lifelong night owl, and people don't get therapy at, 1 o'clock in the morning typically, right? It's non-traditional. Not yet. Tune in. To come, right? But I really struggled with that. I had a huge adjustment. But the career progression really stemmed from my passion, loving what I do, loving the research. I'm a nerd. I've always got a new book to look at. I'm always wanting to do a new modality. I just finished the training for EMDR therapy. So I personally am just driven by my interest in the subject matter and my love for my clients and my love for Los Angeles Outpatient Center. And if I can give any key of advice to anybody in that kind of scenario or just in career progression is to make sure that you're still aligned with what it is that you love. In some way or some form, there's always going to be tasks in what we do that are just that. They're tasks. It's things that we don't like doing, but it's important. And they're important parts of it. So accepting that our careers are not going to always be perfect. So I'm going to always still have to do those documents and that notes. Not my favorite part. But really stand back to your heart. Where does your heart take you? What are your passions? What's your love? What helps you feel fulfilled at the end of the day?
Absolutely. That fulfillment, I think, is just innate as a human, right? You just want that reassurance that you're doing the right thing.
Exactly.
It's almost like a gauge for you as, am I successful? Is this something that is going to help me? And I love what you said about that helping, that mission, right? To help. It's like a ministry, right?
Yeah.
That you want to help people.
Absolutely.
And when you, in your case, when you're really good at what you do, you can see the results, you know what I mean? And
Absolutely.
so that's got to provide some reassurance.
It really does. It really does. I mean, it makes a difference having a client start and really struggling, but having been the person that helped give them those tools. Now, I didn't make them better. I gave them the tools to that. And that just feels so fulfilling to be able to have somebody feel more supported. Mental health is just, we're already in underserved populations. We're already working with people that society just sort of rejects. Mental health is still, really a big stigma for a lot of people.
Right. I think that is the biggest boundary that we're trying to overcome, just
Absolutely.
stigmatization. And
It's huge.
Reassuring people that this is the type of environment that you want to grow and learn in. And if you had the opportunity to work with Adrina and our team, this would be a great opportunity for you to land here and decide. We will help you open up to your true self and your authentic self and find out what is your passion, what is your dream. I think that would be a great start.
That's a huge start. I think that's a couple jump heads ahead of. That's great to me.
I think so. So you can come here to Los Angeles Outpatient Center and we can help you with your career goals. We can help you with those establishing those core beliefs, because it's okay to not know what you don't know.
Exactly. We don't know what we don't know. And sometimes we just need a little bit of support. And, I think that's where it's also valuable to have mentors and to have people in your life that you go to. Therapy is not, being a therapist is an ever-growing career path because no person's the same. So I'm constantly needing to be learning and pivoting around that. It's just incredibly important.
It most definitely is. I mean, just like you mentioned your training, right? So I'm just tagging on to what you said about the ever-growing. I mean, you don't peak in this environment. There's like, oh, I got everything. I know all the modalities.
Yes.
I know everything there is to do about treating humans. No, right?
Right.
You're constantly seeking knowledge and information so you can grow as a clinician.
Exactly.
Right? And that's what we promote here. We want our clinicians to be in the best state they can from an educational standpoint, from their experience. Her experience, Adrina's experience is definitely helping and trickling down to the clients, to the employees. So there you have it. It's right here, you guys.
Thank you.
So this leads me to our next question, Adrina, about helping others, because that's the theme, right? We talked about progressing our careers and how that is just monumental in supporting our, clientele. So let's talk about helping others in the workplace. So I want to ask you, how can workplaces, specifically LAOP, foster a supportive environment for the emotional and physical wellness of their female employees, male employees, transgendered employees? I mean, we want to meet everybody where they are. Right, mentally and emotionally, genetically, across all lines. Yeah. Can you just give me a few tips on what that looks like, just meeting our culture and our clientele as far as it relates to our employees where they are?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The big one is not making assumptions. One female employee may not struggle with the same of another female employee, or one queer identified employee might not be the same as the other one or have the same needs. So not generalizing and just being curious is a really big part of understanding how to meet everybody where they're at and not making assumptions. Number two is just kind of generally knowing or understanding or having empathy for the struggles of certain groups, different racial identities, different gender identities and sexualities. We need, as professionals, to be aware and sensitive to the things that are politically going on that could affect our communities, and to understand historically what has gone on for the communities that we work with. Just really that hyper awareness of like, there's an anti-LGBT bill happening that is not allowing transgender youth to be in the bathroom. Like, I need to know that if I have an employee who identifies as trans who maybe went through something similar or maybe more sensitive or traumatized about that. And the other thing you mentioned earlier was having something like a support group that is safe It is a space, even without managers present, to allow employees to, one, connect with each other, and two, to be able to have a non-judgmental place to unload some of the things that are maybe personally are going on that are that infiltrates our workplace. Our life comes with us. Our biases, what we've learned, our bullying, all of that comes with us to work. And so really creating that community space like you have, and being able to have that present for everybody. And, I think another really big one is camaraderie. So building a team of people who maybe not have the same backgrounds, maybe don't even have the same hobbies, but finding a commonality to bring them together and to help them work as a team and to feel supported by each other is even more key than us as a supervisor understanding them, because really the main support comes from our colleagues, right? We get a lot of support from our colleagues. We can't talk to our boss about the beef or, the drama. We got to have our colleague there and say, what Dominique said yesterday?
Right. Vent. Bring me that vent session.
We need to.
That's exactly
and having, Dominique and myself really have an open door policy. And so I think in an environment that's diverse, we want it to be as diverse as you guys. Our environment is no different. We have people from all walks of life, but we want to keep our door open, right? My door is always open. I probably say it once or twice a day just to remind people. So that's another important one too. Remind your staff that you're there for them. Remind them that, you're available. And also to be aware of the chain of command. That is where something is really important, right? Knowing where to go to if the issue is with your boss, or if the issue is with a colleague, you don't feel comfortable going to your boss. Knowing what those steps are for somebody that maybe doesn't feel safe or supported, they won't share. They'll hide within themselves. They're going to be less likely to want to stay at a clinic like this. But telling all your staff, this is how and who you can go to. Should I not be able to answer any of your questions, or should the concern be with me? I want to be transparent about that.
Absolutely. And I think that transparency is what translates into that collective collaboration.
Absolutely.
Because that's very, in this setting, therapeutic. Both I can offload things that I've discovered about clients, and then it's going to help you when you're treating the clients, right, in the next session or group or whatever you have. So we can all stay on top of things. The other thing I really admired what you said was about just that awareness, right? So for me and you, fam, another assignment, you guys stay woke, get the information, do your research, right?
Exactly.
I'm not your teacher. The information is available. We have things going on politically. We have things going on emotionally. We have things coming on from the generational line, from our ancestry. Make yourself aware. Get informed about, because the struggle is real, right?
It is.
For everybody across the board. So we need to have that empathy. I'm going to reiterate what you said, that empathy and that understanding for what we are going through collectively. And that's going to build that team, that collaboration. Again, let's talk about the trickle-down effect and how it helps our clientele, making sure that they have what they need in us. Very good. So now let's talk about maybe some specific wellness initiatives or programs that we know that have been successful in supporting, again, we're crossing all channels, right, as far as who we can support in the workplace, because we're a very diverse group. Like you said, we all have different backgrounds, all have different walks of life, which is the beauty in the quilt that we're building. You know what a quilt is, guys, right? You put all these different textures and designs on this one cover, this one blanket, right? And it covers all, right? So, but the beauty of the quilt is the design, and everything looks different. No pattern looks the same, right? It's very diverse and very comforting. Oh, y'all like that analogy? That was pretty good. So, so now let's talk about specific wellness initiatives or programs that we've seen that have been successful. Not all of them work, right? So we have to kind of trial and error to see what's going to work. And again, this translates to everyone across the board. We're meeting every person where they are, so in the workplace. And we do have a very diverse group. So what's good for one person might not work for the other person, right? So we have to kind of juggle that. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, one thing that's been really successful at LAOP, just with the transitions that were happening here, is working really closely with HR. Really going into where other people's expertise are, doing exercises like the Big Five, where we get to learn more about each other in a deeper way that's not necessarily clinical, but like what are Dominique's strengths and what are the things that she needs to work on? And how can we build skills so that we can work together, even with the differences that we have together, that we might not always see eye to eye on, but how do we compromise, things like that. So we did do a lot of exercises with HR. I think is really beneficial to do something like that.
100% agree with you, because that's the support that you and I need as leaders, right?
Exactly.
Because sometimes it might, granted, cause some fatigue. Plus employees hearing us say the same thing over and over again. Oh, we're a team. Yeah, let's go, guys. But just that overarching support, and and they're using evidence-based tools as well, right? That shows how to build camaraderie, how to build a team, and how to keep that cohesiveness. So I think it's important. HR is not a bad word, right?
It's not. Okay. And I know we say it is a bad word, but if you have a team that works collaboratively from HR, you can really, really benefit, and your employees can really benefit from the trainings that can be provided. Like you were saying, like the other hot word is evidence-based practices. Is knowing that it's been tested, tried, and it works. And that's type of therapy we provide. So we want to go to the experts.
We want to go to the experts.
Absolutely.
We want to heavily lean in on the wealth of knowledge that has been created, that's been published, if you will. So we can even go back and reference it. So that's how important it is to us to provide that to our employees as well as our clientele, like Adrina was saying.
Exactly.
Okay. There you have it, guys. We can use some good stuff, right? So, you guys, no, it's time to go. This has been so enjoyable. I enjoy our time together on a day-to-day, but I was so excited to have you come on this podcast, Adrina, and your expertise and leadership at Los Angeles Outpatient Center is immense, and you just make it so worthwhile. And so I feel like we're just really growing, and I feel like we just are helping so many people. I'm just really pleased in what we're doing. So I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for joining us and making this another successful discussion, you guys. And we appreciate you just being vulnerable and just being open. And I just so admire that about you, that it is what you see is what you get. It's and the get it done bun too. I mean, you got it all.
Gotta have that with me.
Gotta have it. I mean, it's a must, you guys. So as always, you guys, family, if you have any questions or future topic ideas or discussions, let us know.
Let us know.
Comment below and learn more about our services at Los Angeles Outpatient Center. Visit laopcenter.com. And guess what? I'll see you next time.
Thank you. Thank you, Dominique. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.